Hey guys, it's no secret that people are talking about co-healers and co-healer relationships that have been going around with one group basically going up in flames at this point from a frankly mind-blowing leak to say the least. And I'm here with my boyfriend who's also my co-healer this expansion, and to give some background on you, you've been doing heals in WoW as like a healing officer in like mythic raids and high keys for, god, how long?
Oh yeah, for a long time. I played just 14 now though. I haven't played WoW since like BFA because that game just I don't know how people still play it. Honestly, it's just gone so downhill.
Shadowlands, I still think the Kyrians are so
Oh,
creepy.
well, I just thought Shadowlands was just not good. I just did not like the systems that they had there. It just felt horribly grindy and just more of. It felt like he tried to do Legion again, but it just wasn't as good.
Oh no.
But anyhow, whatever. That's something for like another day. I'm kind of done with that.
Yeah, we're not talking about WoW in this video. I just a background. So for everyone, this is unscripted, so you're gonna get like raw opinions here because I think that raw opinions are gonna be better than if I tried to script everything. But we do have some points to talk about, and so I'm gonna ask you a stupidly easy question first. How important is the co-healer relationship? Like, how much do we talk? Like, just between even us, not even involving the rest of the group, because meh. But how often, and would you even say that's important? Which really easy question.
Never. We never talk. It doesn't matter.
We never talk.
Clearly.
I'm just like this bitch.
It doesn't matter.
Why would I listen to a white mage? Get out of my face.
I know. Why don't you put down tons of barriers and eat all my heals?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I should do in a group. It's just like I should be like spamming all of the barriers. I should be like, meh, look at my sucker. Look at my sucker. This is getting kind of shady now.
No. So
my active time.
If you want to be an effective healer, you should talk all the time with your co-healer. Otherwise, it just makes everything so much harder. Communication is important.
Well, yeah, exactly, because it's just like you don't want to see me use Seraph and then, I don't know, you drop down Lilybell. And then it's just like, why?
Exactly.
Why?
Okay,
why
now,
is
that's unmitigated. The whole group's going to explode.
Bro, look at all of the like overhealing. My
do you like that overhealing?
Yeah, I absolutely love the overhealing.
Here, have some Benisons. There you go.
Oh my god, I love Eggs Benedict as well as yeah, and you better I'll use protraction on myself, and then you can like, I don't know, Benny me.
Overhealing makes the Shiba sad.
It does make the Shiba sad. It does. But this is why like healers need to talk. So like to that end, I want to talk about the point about what about heal over time effects? Like say you have Asylum down, should I let that tick and not just immediately go, let's slam down Indom, Fey Blessing, Cast Sucker, like just go ham, like what about like
situation, right? So like,
oh yeah,
if there's a bunch of damage coming out right away, you might want to. However, if you can wait a little while, because there's like a gap, and you can just do some DPS, and then it's always good to let that heal over time effect heal up the group.
Exactly, because it's just.
Although White Mage doesn't have really, outside of like Medica 2 and Regen, there aren't that many heal over time effects.
I mean, kinda, yeah. I think that Asylum is so good though. Like, I don't know, I like it, but like White Mage, I definitely would say compared to Astro, you do need a lot more on GCD healing, which is nice because it's bursty for White Mage, right? Because like Astro obviously has Celestial Opposition, which is fantastic heal over time for the group, whereas you just like pop like Plenary Indulgence and then just go with Flatus Rapture, and then it's like boom, here's 600 pounds of healing to the party. I'm kind of jealous at times, exactly. I'm not gonna lie.
It's great, and I mean, Cure 3 has a gigantic range.
Exactly.
Awesome. The only thing is it's GCD cast, so that's the downside.
Exactly, and that's something that I do want to talk about, kind of like in one of my next points, but it's just like in general, you should avoid GCD healing if at all possible, because I mean, okay, like I'll hover over Broil. Broil is 295 potency, and I think Glare 3 is 310, if memory serves me right, so it's just like, obviously it's not like mind-blowing damage, like if 1 or 2 glare casts is why you didn't beat in Rage Timer. I think that the group has a lot more problems, like people are dying, there's weakness debuffs, people aren't doing their rotations correctly, the raid buffs aren't aligned.
But it's good to help out,
oh, yeah.
And so
well, you have to. I think that's such a core part.
And that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like being a healer in 2023, even in 2017 with like UCOP, like you could not get away with just being like, oh, I'm just a healer. All I do is heal. Like that mentality even back then didn't fly, especially with these DPS checks. Like I
Although they
have
certainly made
no.
it harder. They made it harder back then because you know at level 70 you don't have like your flattest rapture, so you basically have the AoE heal that's off GCD. So it's like, okay, I can like swift cast a Medica.
Oh yeah,
Okay,
it's really
I have
weird to look back at the kits. It's really
yeah.
weird because we had like Shadow Flare and all this like a
Uh,
lot more
yeah, I guess
management
you had
than we do
Asylum
today.
as AoE too, but you didn't you, that was it.
Yeah, but like ass size that I just saw you use is like 400 potency of healing on like a 40-second cooldown time because they buffed that, and that's like 400 potency of healing to the entire party. But that's all free, and like of course you use it mostly for damage these days, but like it's great.
And use it on cooldown because it also gives you mana.
Well,
Gives
oh
you
yeah,
HP.
like it's really good. But like you should be healing with that before you ever think about like popping a Medica. And I should always be letting that kind of healing go out. Like Sucker is amazing because it's like you get the heal as well as the barrier component, which Sage has a reduced healing component. Either way, neither healing component is gonna knock your socks off. But in general, we should be leaving that to the OGCDs. So I'm trying to think about how to say it. So when healing, you and I both know that you can outright heal. Like if we live something, you can outright heal it with Medica and Medica 2. But like, I know you know this, but like, what's better? And I feel so dumb for asking this, but like, what is better to use the Medica 2 and Medica, which will heal it, or to use something like this Asylum to just tick up? Which I feel like we just kind of like brushed over that point.
Yeah, no, you know exactly. Like it's much better just to use Asylum, pick everyone up, use your glare casts, or just use like something like that's damage neutral, like Flatus Rapture, which will heal the whole group. But then it also stores up charges for your Afflatus Misery, so you're not losing DPS because in Afflatus Misery, I think it is equal to actually 3 casts of glare in terms of potency. So
which is huge. But like, look at Whispering Dawn. So I obviously have the tooltip in front of me, but look at its duration right now. Like, say there is no incoming damage for like another 30 seconds. This stupid little trickling little heal alongside EOS spamming Embrace on you, which is, God, what is the potency right now? I don't even know. Yeah, it's like a supposed 180. I don't remember if I think pet potency is a little bit more accurate in Endwalker than it used to be. So you're getting all of these background heals just from that. So like in general, we'll just like put the brakes on the healing and just let like EOS do things. Don't let EOS live rent free, right?
exactly.
I feel so dumb and toxic when saying that. She has to do work.
Exactly.
Pet the EOS / pet.
Yeah.
So
otherwise, she's going back to the Fey realm.
pretty much, she's getting dissipation. She's going nom 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 nom.
I don't know. Where do they live? Ilmeg.
Oh no.
Who knows?
So now my next point is, when do you think logs should be looked at? Like, when do you think someone actually should pull up the logs for healers? Because we've been in this position before, and this is a really fine line, where people either don't care enough, and where we're obviously going through our own logs because, hello, that's a part of doing your role is like, and I don't give it an F, it's just like, even DPS should be doing this, even tanks should be doing this, you should go through your own logs. But like, we've been in the position where either people don't care enough or they care about it way too much. And don't name names, I know that names are coming to your mind about a particular person that pulled up our logs like when we were like 5 pulls in and was like overanalyzing the healing. But what are your thoughts? When should those logs be looked at for healers? Or anyone kind of.
I don't think logs really matter for healing. I really don't. Like, if people aren't dying and you're getting to the end, it doesn't really matter. Like, it only would really matter if you're in some scenario where you need all the DPS that you can get, and you're like, and you're trying to push for like world first clears, or you're trying to push for, in some cases, like current ultimate, like top. It might make sense to look at that.
Oh yeah, top's DPS checks are absolutely disgusting.
Do you mean like other people looking at like the healer's logs, or like the additional, like the healer themselves looking at their logs? So I think you should look at your own logs.
Oh, that's a good.
Think about your own performance. But if you're like running a group and just looking at the healer's logs, and you're like, I want to kick my healer because they cast an extra Medica too, that's just ridiculous.
Well, again, not naming names, but in one of our groups, we had like a person bring up the healer logs like super early on. Like I think we were literally at like dogs, like just starting to prog dogs 2, and then we had a DPS start to like microanalyze all of the healer logs, and we were not actually dying to damage. It was just like snakes 2, like
It's because people just can't do mechanics. Yeah, but you know, that is what it is.
But like we had this person go into like the logs and basically trash us both, and I'm just like, man,
it's the joy of being on the internet. You just run into like some of these neurotic and insufferable people, but hey, that's life.
Actually, we could totally do a video about like progging as a healer is totally different than being on farm as a healer, and that like you figure out how to stack the Jenga blocks, and then you start taking the Jenga blocks out, and then you like try and figure it out. So like in general, like I think your distinction before about like a healer should always look at their logs. I think everyone should always look at their logs and always try and
Everyone
improve.
should always look at their own logs and try to improve.
But I think that
I just feel like unless you're like, you know, it really, you know, you don't have to be like going through your healer's logs and like aggressively criticizing their damage. Like you know what's going on. If people are dying to, you know, unavoidable,
then you get higher numbers than them.
You need to talk to the healer.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
And the other thing is like, if as long as your healer is, you know, using their off GCDs to do the majority of the healing, then that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Like, obviously, you probably have some people that, you know, just aren't familiar with how healers work right now in the current.
There's a lot of people that are clearly not familiar
like
lately.
Medica or something.
Well, I've been looking.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
Well, there's a lot of people these days, so we'll talk about that in a later point. Like, I know that you have the points in front of you, but so like, you know we're talking about that. But like in general, I have to agree. Like a healer should always look at their own logs. Oh, you pokeballed. Let me know if you do too. But
I'm here. Yeah.
But what was I gonna say? I think that I think personally, when you should be looking at a healer's logs is like what you said. When we are not meeting the enrage check, or if the healers are truly genuinely doing so much less damage than most healers during prog, because I think that there's a huge difference. Because frankly, I'm like expose on me, I still don't have a 630 weapon, like on my character on my main. I don't have a 630 weapon. I'm still rocking a fucking 625. Oh, so it feels like really bad. So it's like, how to say it? I think that everything needs to be taken with a grain of salt, and I think context is very important, but that's a whole different video topic. But let's say we do go into FF logs and we do look at like the stats. What stats are you in particular looking at? Because I already know what I'm looking for.
FF logs, the stats. Well, their damage, of course. You know, the damage is
I mean, yeah, of course. Yeah,
but I mean, like, okay, like I take that with a grain of salt though, because in order for the healer to get a good parse, like the group actually has to be doing well and not taking damage and you know, doing the mechanics properly. Because anytime they mess that up, and you know, you have to like, go and use your GCDs on something other than glare, for example.
Oh yeah, and if you have like
you're losing that parse.
Oh yeah, especially like when people are making mistakes, because you and I both have had to like spot heal, because I mean, hello, welcome to progging, as well as like red mages that just don't revive and stuff. Like that revive responsibility then goes on to you, because obviously you as the healer need to facilitate the group seeing the further mechanics.
Yeah, exactly.
So like for me,
I just wish more people do that, because sometimes you run into people and they're like, oh, you know, you're only healing like 6% during prog, or damage is only 6% parse during prog, and it's just like, okay, like you have no idea what you've been talking about. Like maybe you shouldn't stand in mechanics and, you know, get blown up all day.
I mean, I'm avoiding names, but like there are 5 names that are coming to mind, and I'm just like,
oh, there's lots of people. I'm sure everyone here probably knows.
Everyone's a
like
critic, that. Right? Until they actually heal, and then they completely explode during prog.
Yeah,
there's such a difference between prog and farm.
Like healer damage is not the same as like tank damage or DPS damage. It just isn't.
They're very different, because it's just like a DPS focuses on mechanics and DPSing, and obviously they have some things like the melees will have to do flex during, say, snakes. That's a fact. But problem is you're largely doing the same striking dummy rotation with like hitboxes the size of freaking Narnia itself. You don't have cast times, and then you don't have to like look after the group, and it's just like, I mean, I always feel a little toxic when I say it, but it's also very true. I think samurais can get chitin back when I'm seeing consistent proper feint usage, and some samurais totally do it, and to them they're like peak DPS. Like, that is what I'm asking for, is like everyone to contribute. But it's just like you'll get like this one hero over here who's just like completely out in Narnia that's like deciding to criticize the healers over
Oh yeah, and then they don't
nonsense
even
who
use
I
mitigation, and
spammed
it's like,
Adlo on.
and it's like, hey, you know, you're maybe getting more damage, but you don't use your mitigation, so now I have to, like, you know, make up for that.
Or that, or just not doing mechanics, because it's like, and I do want to move on from this because I think this is a video topic in and of itself, but like
No,
healer prog
exactly.
is like multiple layers. It's like we need to know the mechanics, we need to know other people's mechanics. It's just like we can't ignore tank busters. DPS, I have literally known a handful of DPS that actually know when the tank buster's going out. A healer needs to know when the tank buster's going out because you need to use Aquabale, you need to use Venison, I need to maybe use Excog, I maybe want to put Haima on them if I'm playing Sage. Like, we cannot avoid that, as well as we need to make up all of the little mistakes, and it's like, then we obviously need to contribute damage, which is why I like healing, because it's like you're doing all this stuff. But it kind of back to the point though, is when I'm looking at logs, what I can tell you is I'm looking first and foremost at the overheal values. The second thing is going to be like, of how many on GCD casts, like how many, say, suckers or adlos am I doing, because I can tell you there are very few tank busters in Savage that require an adlo. Even like in like early weeks, like for like Protocarby, I did not need Adlo, and so Adlo should not be cast that often. The next thing is mitigation usage and timings, and this is especially important if people are dying, because how many times have I been like, okay, we don't need temperance here, move it somewhere else.
Oh, like, well, that's important. Like, why do we want to overlap things and waste our resources, right? So
yeah, and so like I call it like playing limbo with people's health, but it's like if you live, you live, and we can use that tool elsewhere. And how to say it, obviously the fourth thing, because it needs to always be said, is DPS contribution. So things like spamming GCD heals, cranking up your overheal, like overheal is something you should want to reduce. And so when you're spamming, like, say, over and over and over again, and just going like balls to the wall, like makes you look ridiculous. And as a healer, anyone really trying to increase the amount of overhealing they're doing, like, this is backwards to me. Like, what is the sucker actually doing? Like, I already have a barrier on me. I might have actually crit that, I don't know. And so all of this crap here is completely wasteful. And look at my MP, it's getting absolutely chunked. And I'm using a 625 book or whatever, so it's like my piety's way higher. So it to me stupid. So I want to talk about when we heal, obviously some mechanics, we need barriers, but like, you know, if I really wanted to, I could non-stop spam barriers, like do the suckers and do like everything and make your numbers look bad. Like if I spam that, almost all of your healing would go into overhealing, because
oh yeah,
and this is kind of like a problem that many Astro players run into with like Celestial Opposition, or like me with like, it's on cooldown, but like with Spring Dawn with the heal over time, like heal over time effects. And this is again getting to the early point about like co-healers need to freaking talk, but like this is wasteful. Like if you have Asylum down, like say, or like I have this heal, like you can even do it to yourself. Like say I'm at like 50% HP, I just use Whispering Dawn. That with Eos Embrace should get me up. And then I use Recitation, then Indom. Now all of a sudden, I'm like basically full health, and then I still have Whispering Dawn. This is currently not doing anything, so it's like, I don't know. And especially as a barrier healer, I need to be cognizant that I need to open up space for you. Like how I'd look at it is like, I'm opening up space like for like breathing, like I'm giving you breathing room, I'm really opening up the lungs, and then you swoop in and you clean up anything underneath, which sometimes can, I mean, yeah, Medica too sometimes, but like sometimes I've seen you get away with just ass size and just be like boof. And then obviously, like, I mean, if I really got paranoid, I could use like emergency tactics sucker and Like, I can use that once every 15 seconds. This stage can do it once every 30. So it's like, I don't know. I think that it's such a balancing act. So, do you think it's fair or even logical for a barrier healer? Like, say I was telling you you weren't doing enough healing because I was doing more healing than you because I was coding every mechanic in barriers. Do you think that's fair for me to call you bad because of that? I know my answer.
Well, that's ridiculous. By that
Yeah,
same
that's
logic,
ridiculous.
I should be able just to tell you like, hey, I didn't heal at all because you just used so many barriers, so you have no damage and you're bad.
Well, yeah, and then you're starting to hold cooldowns that you shouldn't hold, like, say, Asylum, or, like, especially for, like, an Astro, like, Celestial Intersection. Not Celestial Intersection, I'm thinking of Collective Unconscious. Like, you need to let those work.
That's not fair. And unfortunately, I think a lot of raid leaders, like, don't actually, have an understanding.
A lot of raid leaders
healing
don't
works in this
actually
game.
know what healing
So
is.
they just, because it's not the same as DPS or
No,
tank.
it's not.
For sure.
And that's, like, even if you look at some of my tooling that I'm doing for my website, which hopefully I'll get to everyone soon, like, when you're looking at the count of how many times a person uses a skill, like, if do I go into fight and do I immediately use, like, all of my cooldowns on cooldown just to say, oh, you have all of these cooldowns that are, I don't know, freaking, like, like, gone, oh yeah, I need Swift Cast in there, oh, Seraph's out, so I can't use Fade Blessing, but, like, do you see me do that? Oh yeah, and I need to chain strat something. There's no striking dummy here. Oh, there's a striking dummy. Like, you don't see me do all that. And chain stratagem is on impact. You should wait GCDs it. Don't do chain strat on opener. So many scholars do it, and it drives me crazy.
You should wait until, like, they're actually needed, right? The heals.
Yeah.
Not just use everything on cooldown.
Like, there's no AoE coming down.
There is a discussion to be had here. Like, I've had discussions with other people about, like, white mage, right? And about, like, things like OGCD heals, like divine, or like the shields, like divine benison, or like aqua veil, or things like that. Some people say just to use those on cooldown versus just saving it for like a tank buster. Just throw it on a tank every time it's up for that mitigation, just to reduce the incoming damage.
Yeah, and see, that has merit.
I agree and I disagree, because I think sometimes, you might want to hold that for like a tank buster or some like situation where the damage is going to be really high instead of just using it on cooldown.
Oh yeah.
But you know what? Some people might go through your logs and say, hey, you're bad because someone else used divine benison 20 times in a fight and you only used it.
Now we're deep enough in the video that I can just be blunt. If someone doesn't heal, and if someone has an opinion on healing, I find that I have to take it with the biggest fucking grain of salt. Like, it's just like, I'm thinking about like that one person that was going through and they're just like, huh, you only have 5 casts of Aqua Veil in this fight. You should have had 10. And I'm like, But I mean, that, like, tank busters with their timing.
Someone was telling me that, and you know what? Like,
it's like, do you see use protraction on cooldown? Not necessarily, no.
Well, using it on cooldown might have resulted in less total incoming damage throughout the fight. It very well might have. But, less total incoming damage doesn't necessarily make or break it. It might just be that you had less damage at that specific moment, which resulted in them not hitting 0 and not dying. And that's what makes that might, be what makes or breaks it. It's not just as black and white as less total damage is always better.
Well, I mean, that's why we have EOS.
It's about the timing. Exactly.
Bro, that's why I have EOS. She cleans up everything. But what
I don't know, what do you think? Should I be using Benison on cooldown every single time?
I think that, especially because Benison has charges, I think the charge system's so much nicer. I think you should always make sure that, like, when you go into something that you know what's going on, but I know you know this, so it feels weird for me to say this. This is the one thing, it's just like, I kind of wish that I was asking someone that actually doesn't know. But
well, it's good to talk about, because people go on and on about this, and people have, I've had some people.
Well, with this one particular group that went down in flames, I'm hearing so many people say stupid things about healing, like just the dumbest shit. Where it's just like, if I healed like that in my UCOB fucking group, and I don't talk much about UCOB, I don't talk much about Stormblood because that was some toxic fucking shit. You don't even see me use this fucking book because it's a piece of fucking. I hate thinking about it. It was so bad. But if I did half of the shit that people are saying is okay, I would have been fucking ejected. I would have never. I would have been fucking kicked. Zero question in my mind. I need to get out of the striking dummy. But like, so it's just amazing. But like in terms of cooldown usage, and I know you know this, it's just like it's nice to throw it out if you have it and you don't need it in the next time. Like say because it's 60-second cooldown, and I know you know this, it's just like tank. Is it gonna take a tank buster in the next 60 seconds? No, may as well fucking throw it. But if they are going to take it, you hold it. And so, yeah, and I think that a lot of healers that I'm seeing post, or non-healers I should say, because I don't think a single fucking healer that's cleared even P5, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's no point in blowing all your cooldowns. I think that's moronic.
It's not like you're playing a DPS class where you want to blow every single cooldown always on cooldown.
Oh,
you know,
well, yeah, or like align it for
that's
the
not
raid
always the
buff
case because
window.
you want to line it up with the raid buffs, but like you basically like want to get as many uses of your cooldowns as you can in a fight generally.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, I kind of want to move on to this next point, because have you ever heard of something called active uptime when it comes to healers on logs? Because this is something that is being told to us to justify spamming AoE heals. And
that just seems like someone's like misunderstanding like the whole point of healing if they're saying active uptime really matters that much as a healer. I think active uptime, well, what is that? That just means like how many times you're like
someone actually explained it to me in a
casting
YouTube
in a fight.
Well,
Because
I was on a friend's video.
I've heard something similar for like DPS where it basically just means like, okay, if you could have casted 10 spells in a fight, if you casted 9, you'd be like 90% active uptime, right?
Something like that. Like, honestly, I'm gonna okay, I know that I asked you the question, I'm gonna answer it. Up until now, I never really gave a shit about active uptime. Like, that is not a stat that I have ever really given a shit about. Because as far as has been explained to me, it's basically like how many like casts you're doing and like basically like making sure that you're getting out as much as you can. But my problem is that will always precipitate into, like, let's say you're boiling off like the superfluous chemicals or whatever, it will always have the precipitate of going to be the DPS value or the overheal value. Like, I don't think that I would really care what someone's active uptime value would be if they're like 80th percentile parse. I think maybe they could improve that, but at the same point in time, it's like you won't hear me be like,
I feel
oh,
like
you only got a
not even
50th
that useful.
uptime. Like it seems like, for healers, it seems stupid.
Like, what does it mean? Like, if someone's uptime is like significantly like lower than average, that
am I using all of my Seraph casts right now? Like,
they're not casting.
Like, should I use Seraph more, especially during prog? Probably. That's something that I am bad for.
Weren't you telling me that some people like spam AoE heals like when the boss is untargetable and the group has no damage on them?
Bro, yeah. So like there was this
that
like
is ridiculous.
dude that was
gaming numbers and it does nothing.
Well, yeah, and they were a barrier healer, and I mean, me as a scholar, I am clapped down with cast times right now. Like, you cannot see me like do this shit.
Yeah,
but like, let me like pop onto Sage right now. So like Sage, and so like you can see that I can like run around and I can be like, bro, look at my fucking overhealing, look at my active uptime. Because like Scholar, one thing is it's just like the cast time sucks.
Yeah, so if anyone's doing that, it's because they're trying to game, the metrics, and they're not actually understanding.
It's so stupid. Like, what is this achieving?
It's just silly. It achieves nothing. It just gives you a higher number on the tool.
Yeah, because like look at my.
Makes you look better because some people don't understand it. So that's literally
maybe
all
you can't see my bar, but like join the party. Like look at your HP. Like what is this achieving? What is this actually achieving? You're not even really fishing for credits.
What have you done?
Like what have I done? Like exactly. And does this stress you out?
Does my MP at least if I do it, I can cure fish. I can I can do this.
Bro, does my MP stress you out? Are you stressed out? Do you see my MP?
Yeah, it's stressing me out. Hey, look, I have free cure too.
And don't you, as a co-healer, like look at that slow drip. Look at that slow ass drip.
At least when I do this, I get free cure twos.
Oh my god. You're fishing, fuck. No. But I guess kind of like, to me, I've never heard of active time, and I think that's so important because it's just like, you don't want me to use Haima and Pan Haima and everything on cooldown. I think the one skill is going to be Caracal that you would see me actively using on cooldown generally, which I mean sounds cringe, but I mean, because I'm not literally using it on cooldown, but you'll see it for almost every single AoE that I can fucking stuff it into. Am I wrong? Like, almost every single AoE I'm sacred soiling, because I'm not really doing much stage days.
Oh yeah.
So to me, that's more useful. And so, I just hear all these people talking about what a healer should do and what a healer doesn't, and I'm like, bro.
Do if it's full and the boss is untargetable is like, okay, like maybe on white mage pop some like lilies, because then you could at least store up some damage.
See, that's completely different, bro. See, if someone was telling me that,
it's useful.
Yeah, so just for everyone who might not get that, because that is definitely a white mage tech, is like, let's say a boss is untargetable, but you are still in combat, and so the lilies are still ticking up. Like him, like I guess that you hit the striking dummy, so like you're still in combat and you're still getting the lilies to fill. Like Adder's Gall for Sage is weird in that like you'll be fine no matter what, but like white mage needs to be in combat, and so even though a boss like phase transitions, you're still in combat. Like think about like E1S with that rainbow nuke the planet or whatever like animation. Like that was such a long cast time, and so like lilies, when they're being cast, actually generates stacks of blood lily, and then that generates blood lily that can be boofed, and that's a huge amount of damage. Like that was like a 51k there, just like, and so yeah, that's totally different than what Brosif was doing over here, was fucking spamming this. Like what the fuck is this doing for me? This is not doing anything. This isn't generating damage, this isn't generating resources, this is shitting on my own resources.
Yeah, it's just useless.
It's just like, and then you'll be like, oh, but I need more MP, so I need to start spamming all of my like Adder's Gall abilities, which I just did. And then it's just like, okay, but now you have no Adder's Gall. And then it's just like, oh, I needed to use like blah blah blah. Like it's just
man,
and then some people are saying,
some people just don't know what they're talking about, man.
They don't. And then they're just like, oh, look at me, I'm so fancy, I'm so-and-so at so-and-so place. And it's just like, bitch, I don't give a fuck about your credentials, you're wrong. This is like when a, like, stupid, like, person, like, goes online and they're just like, oh, I'm like, this some big fluent thing. And then they say something stupid, and it's just like, I don't give a fuck who you are. You're wrong. It's just like, you cannot tell me active uptime's useful thing. Like, what the fuck is this doing? I mean, it's a pretty animation, I agree, I like looking at it. Like, this shit's pretty. Sage is really flashy. I love the sci-fi topic, but like, what is this doing?
I just can't.
You're not even fishing for creds.
Like, with healing, I don't know. With some of these opinions that people have, I just wonder.
Well, you can tell that they never fucking.
A little bit of Dunning-Kruger going on, okay?
Yeah, and they never heal. Or they have minimal healing experience in prog, or they're like, oh, I cleared this fight with a stack of everyone that knew exactly what they were doing with gear, and so obviously I suddenly know what I'm doing. Bitch, you have not healed.
Yeah, no, exactly. You have these people that have never healed, or healed once, like way back when, and like.
Or they heal with like a stack of 7 people who are like master raiders, so they're not making mistakes. They're perfectly progging. Like they're not even progging at that point. They all have gear. And they're like, look at me, bro. I know what a healing is. And it's just like, so. And this should be its own video. I feel like maybe we should cut it short, but I want to say, like, as a barrier healer, I am finding myself now that we're getting more gear, and again, I still don't have my fucking book, so I'm pissed, but I need to, like, during prog, I need to stack up all the Jenga pieces, and now I'm starting to, like, pull out all the pieces now that we have more gear, because it's like, all of a sudden, we don't need this sucker. All of a sudden, we don't need dissipation. And I'm like, sure, I can start pulling out the Jenga pieces, use dissipation for energy drains I fucking get.
Exactly, do more damage.
So it's like prog healing, like, your rotation does change, and I think that's one advantage of ultimates, is it's like, actually that's a lie, because even when we're going into T now, like, it's just like, we have the relic books, well, you have the relic, like, staff, and like, we obviously are going in with better secondary substats, and so we have an easier time than day one, but like, in general, like, prog healing, especially for a savage tier where you're starting to get the gear, it changes over time, and then sometimes you will kill the group because it's like, oh, I actually still do need that Jenga piece because they're fucking ranged physical DPS They're too squishy still.
Oh,
I'm
wait,
so
exactly.
sorry.
Or we have a ridiculous.
Hey guys, and so we actually just had a recording issue. Directly, I had my hard drive filled, and then OBS just stopped recording. So I'm so sorry. So we were like, according to the footage, we were just talking about like Jenga pieces and like how like as a healer during progression raiding, you set up like what you actually need to do, and then as you get gear it changes. Like you don't all of a sudden need a sucker there, or all of a sudden you need to move something around.
Yes, that's the metaphor. Like, so you can move things around without the whole tower falling. So if you
Yeah.
need temperance, somewhere else, and Cole could use, I don't know, Seraph or one of his other cooldowns instead.
Yeah, and so like I play Limbo with people's HP bars, but we were basically close to like the end of the video, so I guess I'm gonna end it on this. The co-healer relationship is absolutely foundational. And I don't think this is even in dispute, or if it is in dispute, you really should raise your eyebrows. So
Yeah.
like
The other thing, yeah. No,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. It's important. If you gotta like who you're healing with. If not, like, just
Well, you have to.
put on someone else. Get
Well,
out
yeah.
of there.
Because you need, I think, more than even tanks. And tanks need to, and everyone knows it, the tanks failed the tank swap. That is very on the nose obvious when the tanks aren't communicating. But like when co-healers aren't communicating, you're getting the things like the overheal. You're getting the things like the weird fucking, why are you using 90 Ukrainian prognoses? Oh, because the other healer I don't trust. Shut up and leave or talk. So like, and I mean, we're at the point of the video where I know the only people listening are the people that actually care. So it's just like, I'll just be blunt. I don't like most co-healers, and like, I am very opinionated. And if I can't talk to my co-healer, I just will not deal with it. Like, we need to vibe. We need to not just get along with each other. We need to fucking vibe, or I won't be in that group. Because I know a lot of people on my channel are just like, why didn't you clear T at that time? Why didn't you clear fucking Uwu? Because I never like the design of the Ulu weapons, if I'm honest. People are gonna not like that. And why aren't you doing DSR on top? And it's just like, I just didn't have a co-healer that I vibed with. And it's just like, and then I was getting like, name it up to speed. He came over to 14 and now we're in T together. So it's just like, I need to vibe with my co-healer. Like, I will literally not co-heal. I will not deal with it if I'm not actively vibing and enjoying this person. And I mean, it sounds weird because I'm on the call with you and like literally saying this to your face, but you know we talk. Like, and before our recording got like booted by footage. Oh, you're falling. But like, I was basically, what was I saying again? My brain just fell like we did there.
We were just finishing it off. So basically, like, you're asking me if I had like any, advice for people. So I just say, like, everything here. The takeaway message is, make sure you find if you want to heal, make sure you have a co-healer that you like, communicate lots, and don't rely on the logs too much. Use them as a tool to improve your performance, but really judging healers by logs is very, honestly,
it's very dicey.
It's almost ridiculous. Like, if the group's not dying, the healers would be doing a good job.
And this is something that I do want to do a video with you on a completely separate note, because healer logs is like the most widely misunderstood thing, because people will take like your first clear of something and then like use it as the gospel to like judge you by, and it's like it's not that simple. Like, people will be like, what do you mean? Okay, chain stratagem. If I'm in a group of people all parsing gray, my chain stratagem will look like dog shit. And that directly makes my number look lower on raid DPS. Deadass.
Exactly.
Like, it's simple. It's just like,
and
there's more than that, but like co-healers, I don't know. If you have co-healers that aren't vibing with one another, they're not talking to one another, like, find out who's not talking and kick that one. Like, if you want them to talk, you want them to yammer, you want them to figure shit out, because if they don't, prog's gonna be fucking really shit. It's gonna be really dog shit if they ain't talking, and I know as the healer myself, I won't put up with it. I will actively just not do the content, as I guess I literally exist today to prove.
So, I don't know. Anything else you want to talk about, Cole?
I mean, yeah, but they're like separate videos, so I don't know. I'm good with this.
Just end it there.
Yeah, see ya, everyone. Be well, and thank you for checking this out. And if you waited this long, you are appreciated. You are beautiful. You're perfect, and you're a model. Do you want to finish the quote? No.
You walk down the stage and watch, what is it, a diaper, and everyone would say you're beautiful, something like
Yes.
that. All right. He said it.
Cohealer, your smile is beautiful.
Yes.